Well, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Make yourself at home. Have a drink. While I give some attention to some underappreciated characters and storylines that I personally love. And I hope you grow to love as well.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Matt's Minis Hellblazer. Today, we got John Constantine Hellblazer number 2, which is from February 1988. And before we get into that, just a little reminder that you are listening to the free version of this podcast. But over on our Patreon, we are about 30 episodes ahead of this. So if you can't get enough of John Constantine Hellblazer, then head over to patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And you can get access to our full back catalog of Hellblazer Matt's Minis. It's a podcast I do every week where I'm going through every issue of Hellblazer. And with that, let's get into the issue. We see on the cover here, it's kind of like the last cover where there's just a lot of stuff thrown on it that kind of references things that are in the issue, but we have a depiction of Papa Midnight that's all scratchy and drawn and worn, and then we see there's like a neon sign called Midnight, so that's, you know, his nightclub or whatever. There's some like tribal symbols, and then of course John Constantine is smoking in the window outside in the rain, and then the top has some like scratchy writing and stuff. So it's a cool cover. I should also mention, I don't know if I said this in the last one, but the writer of this is Jamie Delano and the artist is John Ridgway. So good stuff. If you've ever listened to our Miracle Man podcast on the main podcast for Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, John Ridgway did the artwork inside a lot of that stuff. So he's got a lot of chops for interesting artwork, very cool stuff. He always thinks outside the box. So perfect for this kind of a comic. But right away, we start in Manhattan here on the first page. It is raining. John Constantine's going into Papa Midnight's club. So it's called Midnight's. And the first floor is just like a regular club. It's all dancing and everything, but John Constantine goes down to many, many different levels where we see there's a club where there's like people, there's like a live sex show and people are all into that. And then there's the lowest club, which is, he says, downstairs is where the death is. There's an arena where 2 zombies are fighting. And I say zombies because they are like the Haitian variety of zombies, because Papa Midnight is a, I don't know what the correct term is, but just say like a Haitian voodoo magician, more than like Constantine's side, which is more, I guess, traditional magic or whatever in the European sense. But they, yeah, that's like the 2 sides, but it's like they're all valid magics in this world. Just, you know, depending on where you grew up, that's the one that you would, I guess, go towards. And so he sees these 2 zombies fighting each other with bats, and he comes up to Papa Midnight. And I don't know if I introduced Papa Midnight last time. Basically, he is a large African-American fellow. He sometimes dresses in like a suit and stuff when he's in public, but generally when he is on his roof of his giant, he's got like a whole tower. There's like a club on the bottom, but he's got like a, you know, high-rise building basically. And on the top of that building, in his like penthouse, he will wear like, it kind of looks like it might be bad for nowadays, I don't know, but he wears like the costume of the bad guy in what's that James Bond movie? Live and Let Die or whatever. Like that one's all about voodoo and stuff too. This costume he wears is like a top hat that's white. He wears like a African looking kind of skirt, and then but like a fancy white jacket as well, but he's shirtless underneath that. So it's kind of like an interesting garb he wears. I don't know if that's traditional or something in Haiti where he is from, or not. I don't think so, but I don't know. But either way, I just wanted to give you an introduction, because down here in this cellar, he is wearing a suit, a regular suit, and he's just kind of like watching these 2 zombies beat each other to death, where people are very, very eager to see them kill each other. I don't know if the people watching, and I say people, there's like a huge crowd, like it's a boxing match or something. I don't know if they are aware that they're zombies or not, but they just want blood. And so, Papa Midnight's justification of this, because of course Constantine walks up to him with a witty remark saying, "Hello, I'm from the League Against Cruel Sports," and like if he's some kind of either not like agency, but like he's gonna start picketing or something. And then Papa Midnight's like, Constantine, if you don't approve of the entertainment, I didn't take you for squeamish. And so basically Constantine's just kind of like, this isn't my thing. But Papa Midnight says, oh yeah, it's because these people will need to see violence. They want it, whether it's in movies, TV, whatever, or a newscast. So but this is like the realest thing they can get. So this is what they get unless they want to actually kill someone or whatever. So he's justifying it as like a release for their actual urges to murder or something. So Constantine has come here obviously to pick up his friend Gary Lester. And if you don't remember last time, Gary Lester is a junkie who unleashed a demon that he found that was found in a boy that he met in Saudi Arabia, and then he unleashed it from that boy. And so since then, there's been a demon running around Manhattan where Gary Lester sent the package with the demon in a bottle. And so now Gary is kind of freaking out, and like I said, he's a junkie, so he hasn't had a heroin fix for a while. And in the last issue, Constantine left him with Papa Midnight while he went to go check on some things. Now he's back. So Papa Midnight's like, yes, let's go to the pens. And apparently he's just got a room full of cells, like a jail cell. And he has kept Gary there. And Gary's like, oh my God, John, what's happening? I thought he was going to kill me. So apparently he just threw this guy in there to like not knowing what was going to happen. Like he didn't know if John knew this guy was going to throw him in here, or if this guy was like doing it behind his back and was going to kill him or whatever. Because also he's seen the zombies and stuff. So like that's different magic than he's seen, I think. So, but basically what we get is Papa Midnight knows what's actually going to happen here. And so does John, but Gary is unaware. And what's going to happen is Lester is the bait. And John is trying to hide that fact from Lester. So Papa Midnight says, like, the smell of fear always helps the jaguar find the goat. And then Constantine's like, all right, shut up. Like, we don't need him to figure out what's going on. Like, ex-nay on the sacrifice say, like, like basically he's going to be a sacrifice, but he can't let Gary know because Gary's kind of freaking out right now. So he's like, John, please just give me like a hit. I just need a little taste. And John's like, no, I can't do that, but like, here's a cigarette. And so he tells Gaz, like, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Also, he calls him Gaz. Gary's, I don't know why, but he calls him Gaz. So we want to call him Gaz from now on because that's what he meant. He calls him like that. And Gary Lester is sometimes confusing because I call him Lester or Gary or whatever because they're two first names. So I'll just call him Gaz from now on. But so Gaz gets the cigarette and he's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. Stay cool. And this time tomorrow, we'll be on our way home. And he fucking does the okay sign and winks like such a fucking liar. And then he just leaves him to be tied down there. So pretty crazy. But basically they know that like this demon it was woken by him or was pulled out by him, and it is kind of drawn to Gaz's addiction to heroin. So that's why they're like not letting him have any, because he's going to be a lure. Basically, he's going to be the trap for the demon. And then also in John's mind, he's trying to justify it. He's like, it's the only way, mate. It has to be done. After all, you let it go. You're responsible. So like that's what he's saying in his mind. That's like the justification for John Constantine to use this dude as bait, and that's it's his friend, so it's kind of fucked up, obviously super fucked up. But yeah, and then he gets to his room, which I guess is in the hotel that's above this club. Like I said, it's a high-rise building, so there's lots of floors. Apparently some of them are hotels. His hotel room is ridiculous. It looks like he's staying in a themed room of Africa. Like there's a tiger skin on the bed as like the blanket. There's leopard print headrest on the bed. There's like an African shield and spears and stuff on the wall. So I don't know what the theme of this room is, but it's a little ostentatious for Constantine. But he doesn't care. He's just tired, and he's all wet because it was raining outside. So he takes off his clothes. He says, and this is cool, the way that he, like, you get the feeling he's not okay with doing this to his friend, but it's like, it's what has to be done. So he says, the feeling like a snake, I slough off a skin of moist, clean clothes. So, it's not just that he wouldn't say feeling like a snake if he hadn't just kind of betrayed his friend a bit. So then all of a sudden, something happens kind of interesting that you might not know if you haven't listened to Matt's Mini Swamp Things. If you haven't, where have you been? They're amazing, I guess. I don't know. But if you remember in those Swamp Things, John Constantine had a bunch of friends that died in some of those issues, and they come to visit him. One of them is Emma, who appeared in the first issue of Hellblazer. She died from being thrown out of a building from this monster that this cult in the Amazon made to kill her, I guess, and because it was trying to find Constantine and kill all of his friends that were going to hurt them. And so it killed Emma, and then through the course of the comics in Swamp Thing, it kills all the other friends that he has that were going to attack this cult. So their names were Frank, Benjamin, there was like a nun named Sister Anne Marie. And so all of these people appear. They're ghosts, though. And he starts yelling at them like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm sorry I killed you. I'm sorry I got you involved in all this shit. Like, I didn't mean for you to die, but, we had to stop shit, and it was the only way. So he's kind of like guilty and justifying himself to their ghosts, and he's yelling at them. And then this was fun. This was interesting. He's like yelling at them, and then he like shuts the lights off. He's like, sod off, I want to sleep now. And then it says basically after trying to sleep, it like wouldn't happen. He hears someone's voice. I don't know if it's Emma's, and it says, I suffocate my sudden sobs into the pillow and wait for dawn. So he doesn't get to sleep, I don't think. Or if he does, it's very, very, very little. In the meantime, that night, the demon is going crazy. It is this giant fly demon that's coming from the cathedral that he was at last time. And now he's wreaking havoc all over the town. He's growing. He's possessing. We have a great double-page spread where he says, you want, I give. Your yearning is my breath. He's kind of talking to the city and like giving his like motivations here. Let me crack the pods of your fierce need. Release that bounded energy to shoot straight into my swarming heart. In the hot, dry place, it was a rude cry for sustenance that suckled me. So like in Africa, what birthed him was just the need, the want of just sustenance and food. And it says, then a shriek of pure demand led me to new veins of exquisite nourishment. So that would be Gaz's heroin addiction. This guy released the demon. And then now he's talking about New York. He's like, this place panders to much rarer tastes. Now much finer juices of obsession seduce my palate. And we get a person working out at the Body Factory, build physical perfection. And this dude's lifting weights. He's like a bodybuilder. And and he says, drawing me to drink tears of frustration from eyes of the open fulfillment of gratification. So this dude, as he's lifting weights, these flies fly into his mouth, possess him, and he starts to eat his muscles because that's what he craves so much. He wants muscle. And it says, utter greed devours their flesh, suckers me, and makes me strong. Our symbiosis is wholly, terrible, and complete. And so this demon is just getting gigantic. And as the sun rises, he has fully fed and he's at full power. But he realizes something. He's being pulled by a very, very large need that he feels. And it's interesting because it says, then I taste the strongest flavor yet. A thread of pain that tugs me, calling me to feast. This is the time, my time. I come. And so what he's seeing, what he's tasting is Gary Lester or Gaz's need for heroin, that they've not given him heroin for days now. So his lust is crazy. And they're calling, it's morning now, like I said, so they are ready to start the trap, I guess, for this demon. So Papa Midnight sends a zombie to wake Constantine up, and they meet. And like I said, Papa Midnight is in his, I guess, magician garb, which is the white top hat, white overcoat, and traditional African skirt. There's a chair there that's obviously an old electrical chair. And Papa Midnight says it's actually the electrical chair from Sing Sing, and that over 300 lives have sizzled to extinction on that seat. So apparently that makes it good for magic, at least for his magic. So, and then in the background we can see through the sun. There's always the sun in the back, and we see this swarm of flies just starting to build, and they bring Gaz up from the basement. And John's like, good morning, Gaz. How you doing? And he's like, it's no good, John. I can't go through with it. I'm out of my depth. And then John's like, don't be daft, pal. It'll be a doodle. He's trying to calm him. He puts a cigarette in his mouth, lights it. And Gaz is like, no, I mean it. You'll have to call it off. And John's like, no can do, son. Just imagine you're at the dentist and I'm your mom. And at the end, you'll get a treat. All the way from Thailand, he says. And so basically they tie him down to this chair like if he was going to be executed. And then Papa Midnight begins the ritual. He sacrifices a chicken. He's doing Haitian voodoo magic. So that is the style that they're doing. And begins to do his ritual, and the swarm is coming close, and then all of a sudden Gaz is like, it's too strong now, John, you'll never hold it, because they're seeing how big it is, as it's coming. The swarm is even bigger than it was before. He says, it'll never fit in the bottle, man, the bottle. And then all of a sudden Gaz realizes, and you hear John say, oh dear, the pennies finally dropped. And Gaz says, you haven't got a bottle, John. How are you going to catch it? And then he realizes he's the bottle. And he's like, oh, no, please, no. And he's yelling, Constantine, you bastard. And basically that's what Constantine and Papa Midnight do. They trap the demon into Gary Lester. They let the demon go into Gary Lester, which is a horrific page. It's a double page spread of all these flies. And when I say all these flies, I mean millions and millions of flies landing on Lester, covering his face. It says that Gary's eyes meet with Constantine one last time as the flies of Nemoth cover his eyes. And then they basically, it says they thrust themselves into him. So that imagery is there for a reason. They go into him without him being willing, and his chest bursts forward, and it says who knows what's going on to his organs and skin. And then Constantine pulls out a quiver that is sharpened and begins to put the marks on him. So the binding marks are the same marks that were on the child that Gary Lester found in Medina in Saudi Arabia. And so basically he has become the new vessel that this demon is trapped in. And at first he becomes overwhelmed with strength. The Gary does. So Gary jumps up and he breaks his bindings in the chair, And he jumps up and he immediately goes after Constantine. And then Constantine's like, Gaz, no, fight it, man. Don't let it do this to you. Don't let it make you hurt me. I'm your friend, mate. It's me, John Constantine. And so like, he's trapped a demon inside of his friend. And yet he's still like, no, bro, don't hurt me. And so that actually calms him down. I don't know if he uses magic or something, but basically it calms his friend down. He's like, you don't want to hurt me. I'm your friend. And then it's like Gary comes to after that, and he's like, John, what have you done to me? Kill me, John. Don't let it have me. And basically he injects his friend with some heroin to calm his nerves. And he's like, why has this happened to me? And basically they're going to leave him as the vessel. They put a straitjacket on him, and he's like, oh my God, it's like eating me from the inside. And Constantine decides to wait down there in the prison cell with him as this demon eats him alive. Because if you remember from last issue, the whole point of binding the demon to that child that Gary found was to let it die. Because if the demon eats the body, the host that it's in, it will die too. So that's why they bound it to the child. And then slave traders found the child, and then Gaz got the child from them. So that's like why they bound it in the first place. And now Gaz is the new bound victim, I guess. So, and then as Constantine goes down there, he's like, I'm going to need like so much cigarettes and so much whiskey. And basically he just starts drinking full bottles of whiskey and smoking so many cigarettes just to like wait down here and hear his friend, plead, but he's going to be with him while he dies. And then all of a sudden the ghosts show up again, and they like give him the middle finger. And so then Constantine wakes up. His friend Gary is now gone and dead. And it says Lester's body is completely desiccated, mummified, eyes too dry to close, just like a pharaoh. So they have his friend there, and he doesn't even take his friend's body or figure out like maybe he needs a funeral or something. He actually leaves. He just walks away because he's so like fucked up and hungover. And then Papa Midnight just says, hey, seal this up, brick it up. He gets a brick and mortar dude to seal this room with this dead body from a demon in it. So Gaz and the demon, I guess they're dead, but just in case, seal that room up and let's never talk about this again. And then Constantine leaves the place, and when he gets down to the street, he says, it says like his voiceovers, I want out of this place. I need to put an ocean between myself and Midnight and Gary Lester. So he doesn't want any of this craziness. The funny thing is he's like, this city doesn't even realize what it owes me. Like, yes, you saved the city from the demon, but you killed your friend in the process. So he looks across the street as he's like gonna hail a cab, and he sees his ghost friends from the Swamp Thing issues, and they are waving to him, and he's like, oh my God, they're waving to me. This is crazy. They never say hi like this. And then he realizes that they're not waving at him. What they're waving at is Gary's ghost now is walking across the street over to them. So now he's just another ghost in John Constantine's guilt-ridden conscience of all of his friends who have died. So then he gets mad and he says, I clenched my jaw until my teeth hurt. Sodom, they're only bloody ghosts. Who needs them? And that's the end of this issue. So that is the end of the introduction storyline of John Constantine, and we will keep going from here, of course. But if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email me at planestrains.comicbooks, all one word, at gmail.com, and we'll see you on the next one.